stocks, bonds, ETFs, straight out of downtown Chicago. This is Zacks Market Edge.
Welcome to Zacks Market Edge, the podcast about investing in your life. I'm your host, Tracey Ryniec, and this week I'm going solo to talk about growth stocks. We have the bull charging again, and it looks like we might get a breakout in the S&P 500 again here this summer in 2025 after we had the big trade war sell-off. We're back to surging again. And so I wanted to take a look at the key area that is seeing most of the strength. Not all. There are some value stocks that are doing quite well right now, but it's really the growth side of things. As usual, a lot of that includes technology, but not exclusively, but a lot is on the tech side. So I want to do a screening podcast this week because we have all these great screening tools on Zacks.com, and some of you know about them, some of you don't. So I wanted to kind of feature them here this week. And I'm going to actually screen with the premium screens. So if you aren't a premium member, this will be kind of a treat for you because you'll be able to see what you can do with the premium screens versus just the free basic screens. But we do have the freebies on there too. So what's the difference between the basic and the premiums on the Zacks.com website? It really comes down to the Zacks Rank. Most of the premium screens use the rank in the screen and the basics do not. Although occasionally some of the basics I've discovered do have the Zacks Rank in there, but they're just a little more complex and detailed screens on the premium screens and use the rank and style scores a little more effectively in those screens. So I am going to use the premium as, again, a special treat. And for those of you who are listening, I'm going to try to describe what I'm doing on the website so you can do it yourself as well. And we're going to talk about a couple of stocks that come up in these screens. I really don't know that much of what to expect because I haven't run the growth screens in a while. So this will be fun for me as well. So let's begin. Okay, so you do need to be on Zacks.com, and it is Zacks.com. I've brought up the website on the video podcast here, and you can see that it's just our homepage. And then I know a lot of people are always asking, where do I go? How do I find these screens? Well, you can see these buttons up at the top. And it has the home button, of course. You see stocks. That's the first category. And it brings down a bunch of other things within that button. We have funds, crypto. There's nothing else going on with crypto. You just got to click on that link, apparently. Earnings. This gives you the earnings calendar and all of our earnings information. If you just click on this earnings tab, you'll get all of our really good articles on earnings. I do recommend checking that out. Then we have screening. This is what we care about right now. Going on, there's finance, and you can read personal finance, retirement planning, tax info articles there. Portfolio, you can save your own portfolio on Zacks.com. I have one that I saved over 10 years ago, and it keeps sending me updates on it. I actually haven't updated it because I find it kind of fun to watch my old portfolio and see what's happening there. But this is a good tool if you want to download or, put your portfolio in. Education tab, which explains the Zacks Rank, the style scores, how it all works. You can read all of that there. And then we have the video tab. You can see any of our videos there. And then, of course, the podcast tab. You can find all of our podcasts, including this one, on that tab. I definitely recommend checking that out if you haven't subscribed anywhere else, because you may not be aware that we have a great ETF podcast. We have Full Court Finance by Ben Raines. We have Mind Over Money. That's kind of back in sync again and posting new episodes with Kevin Cook. So check those out. And then we have our services. This is when I talk about that the value investor service owns it. That is what those are, our premium services with portfolios in there. So what we really care about is screening, and we have the ticker out there or the little button. You don't have to search for it. It's prominent. It's right there. And then it pops up a bunch of different screeners. Now we could go into just the premium screens and then it lists the basic screens here. I've actually never done it this way. I usually just go into Stock Screener, but let's try it. Let's click on the premium screens, because I am a premium member, and I'm just curious to see what we get if we do it this way. Okay, so it gives us the premium screens of the various investing styles, and that is pretty important for us because we're looking for growth. So this makes it even easier. If I wanted to find some value screens, there they are. Growth is number 2, and I'm looking at them. It just lists them out here. So the first one, Zacks number 1 rank growth stocks. That sounds pretty good to me. Why wouldn't I want the number 1 ranks? Remember, those are strong buy rank stocks, and that means the earnings estimates are on the rise, and we're going to get growth with that. I'm not sure what, just based on the title, but we are getting growth. The second one is EPS growth, revisions, and positive surprises. So the revisions is also talking about the Zacks Rank. We're going to get EPS growth. Positive surprises is how many times they've beaten. And so you're getting a combination of all those things. I'm assuming this uses the Zacks number 1 rank as well, because we're getting revisions higher there as well. The next one, upgraded broker ratings and the Zacks number 1 rank. So that's positive. The broker ratings are outside of Zacks. Other brokers, putting it up to outperform or strong buy like we have. Any of those things, and we're getting the Zacks number 1 rank. Now there's these little arrows, so that means there's more. So I'm clicking it on the arrow, and then we have growth, dividends, and the Zacks rank. So if you want growth with some dividends, that would be a kind of a fun combination with the Zacks rank. And since it doesn't say number 1, I'm assuming that's probably 1s and 2s, which is the strong buys and the buys. And then clicking onward, there's another one, growth and income. What's different between that? Does it not have the Zacks rank? It might not. Or maybe it includes number 3s in that one. Then we're still doing a few more. There's top ranked growth stocks on the move. So that might have some momentum built into that screen. And then we have market beating growth stocks. So no rank mentioned in that one. Sales and earnings growth winners. So if you don't want just the earnings side, but you also want the strong sales side, because that sounds good to me, and they're winning, then this is a screen you could use. Then we're back to the beginning. So we've gone all the way through the docket here, because the first one was Zacks number 1 rank growth stocks. That's a basic screen, but using that rank, the power of that rank, to give us the top stocks on the growth side. So this title doesn't tell you everything. So that's where we have to click on. So I'm going to click on this very basic screen. Why not? I want the number 1 rank stocks and I want growth. And so this does then tell me when I click on it, it says this screen looks for stocks with Zacks number 1 strong buys, a minimum 20% historical growth EPS rate, and a 20% or more projected growth rate. Then it says big growth, both past and present, for big returns. Okay, so it's just looking at EPS growth. I'm liking that because that's kind of what I wanted to do in this podcast. We're getting the number 1 rank. It has done a minimum of 20% in the past, and it's looking for 20% or more in the future. So I guess it gives it to me right out. It does have a run screen button up at the top, but then just scrolling down, it's giving me a bunch of stocks. So the screen details, it does have average volume in here. Obviously, Zacks number 1 rank. I'm not sure if it has a close over like $5 or something like that, and then it has last year's growth, And then this year's estimated growth has to be over 20%, remember? So let's just click on the run screen button, even though it's giving it to me. Okay, so it automatically runs it. So scrolling down, how many do I have here? Scrolling all the way down, it says 37 entries. So that's more than I was thinking would be on this list. And I'm not going to read through all of them, but if you're watching on the video podcast, you can already see some of the stocks on this list. So ones that I recognize, AppLovin is on here, ticker APP, and they are on the advertising tech side of things. They were kind of down in their luck. I used to follow them a couple years ago. Then 2022 hit, stock sold off. Advertising's been difficult, but looks like this is coming back. So that's interesting. Then we've got some gold miners. AngloGold Ashanti is the number one. I own this stock in Zacks Value Investor portfolio and in my own personal portfolio. And it is a gold miner. So not surprising, given what gold prices are doing, that we have the growth. But I am surprised that we have the growth for last year and in additional to this year. Birkenstock is on here. We're going in alphabetical order if we haven't figured that out yet. Birkenstock, that is the shoe manufacturer. Could be a tariff issue, right? They are German, and I'm not sure where they manufacture, but they are a global company. So there is going to be some impact there, but maybe not, because it's got the number one rank. So that means those earnings estimates are being revised higher, and it's got the growth still expected. So that's impressive. And we're going to come back and talk about some of these. We're going to take a deeper look. What about CyberArk Software? That's on this list. CYBR is the ticker there, CyberArk. And they are cybersecurity international company. And these have been on fire. So again, I'm not surprised on cybersecurity side. We are also seeing some, really good growth there as well. European Wax Center. Surprised this is on here. It is a kind of like a retailer, but services side. And it is where you go in to get waxings. So I never really looked at that stock. Maybe we should take a closer look at European Wax Center. Its ticker is EWCZ, European Wax Center. I did not even know they went public, but they have. And sometimes on these small kind of services retail side, you can find some big winners, especially if you get them when they're small and growing out the business. So we'll take a closer look at that. How many do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have 5 so far that I've mentioned, but I'm just scrolling down. There is a bank on here, MB Bancorp. I used to own this in the Insider Trader. What bank had a 20% historically and is expected to do over 20% next year? And it's the Zacks number one rank. What is happening? How can a bank be on here? But it is. Maybe we should talk about it. NBBK is the ticker, NB Bancorp. And I'll have to look this one up, but I wanted to say this is one that's in Boston. We owned a couple banks in Insider Trader. One of them was in Boston, but we'll look it up and confirm. Okay, so I'm clicking on the next page to get the final stocks. Let's see. Do I recognize any? No. Sprouts Farmers Market is on here. SFM is that ticker. We know them. Urban Outfitters, one retailer got on here. Urban Outfitters, barely with this year's growth though, but over 20 at 20.85. And last year they did 24.92. Now remember, Urban Outfitters is not just Urban Outfitters. It's Anthropologie and it's Free People. I think they have a smaller little division that has some restaurants in it, but Urban is one of their big chains, but they've got the 3 and you really need all of them doing well to be doing well. I know in the last quarter, Anthropologie had a really nice quarter, as well as Free People. I'm a little leery on some of the apparel retailers, apparel and shoes, because of the tariffs and impacts on tariffs. Even if they're not in China, they are manufacturing somewhere, Vietnam, Cambodia, India, somewhere. And so what kind of impact is there, even though it's got that growth and the number one rank? I'm sticking clear of Urban Outfitters for now. Okay, so that's the end of the list. And if you are a premium member, you can scroll through all these. You can run as many of these screens as you want. That's what makes them fun. Also, remember, the basic screens on here are free. Okay, so how many do I have? Should we kick out the gold miner? I feel like maybe we should just look at the chart, though, to kind of see what's happening. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We'll keep it at 6. I like to keep it at 5. But why not? We'll give a bonus because we'll include one of those gold miners on here. I think Newmont was also on here. Did I see Newmont? Yes, Newmont, also a gold miner on here. Zacks number one rank. I think those were the only 2 gold miners. But 20% growth expected for this year, 116% from last year. So that really matters when you get higher gold prices and you're a miner. All right, so now we're going to dive in. We're going to get off the screen. We're going to see what's going on with the earnings estimates on these stocks. And I'm just going to the quote, the toolbar up at the top. It's got the quote, and I'm starting off with AppLovin, ticker APP. Now, if you just bring up the quote page and you scroll all the way down, you can see the company summary. If you're like, is this what I think they do? I can't remember. Yes, I've looked at them before. You can get a little company summary. This one's very short. It just says AppLovin Corporation provides technology platform which enables developers to market, monetize, analyze, and publish their apps. So they're in Palo Alto. That's all we know. But it is a tech company. It's more on like the advertising side, but that's where you get market, monetize, a lot of data. So what's going on with this? You get a lot of information for free on just this quote page. 136 billion on their market cap right now. And you can see shares broke out earlier in the year in 2025. But look back here. This is when I was following it in 2022. You know, a lot of breakdowns, a lot of misses, advertising and monetization and everything that they were selling really hammered, but they've come out of the darkness here. And these arrows, these are the beats and the surprises. So we do like to see the green arrows. It doesn't necessarily exclude the stock if they are missing, but this is a lot of beats in a row going back to 2023. And then these lines on this price consensus and surprise chart tell you what is happening with the earnings consensus. And this is from the analysts and their revisions to earnings estimates, and where they started when they initially gave initial estimates and then where they are heading. So you do want to see it going up and to the right? We want to grow earnings year over year, and that's what the screen is going to give us, 20% earnings growth. But you can also see where it had it historically. And it was down in the dumps in 22, 23, but has been growing this earnings outlook ever since. Now, scrolling down, you can see they do not pay a dividend, not surprising. These shares trying to get back to that all-time high, which is around a little over $500 a share. They're at around 400 right now. So little ways to go. Scrolling down, forward PE is now 47. We don't really care about that because we're just searching for growth. PEG is at 2.4. So not terrible on the PEG because we do have some growth. So take a look over here. This is one of my favorite little charts now, the sales and EPS growth rates. So we're getting both earnings and sales. Now I was a little confused when this first launched because I'm like, which is which? And it kind of gives you this little guideline up here, but it's still a little weird. But left side is the sales. And right side is the earnings on each of these years. So you can see going back where it had the difficulty, look at the sales, negative in 2023, even though you had big earnings spiking up, but sales lagging. But now sales even in the double digits, 2025, we're expecting sales of 24.3% growth there and earnings 85.2 off of this huge earnings gains of 362% last year and sales. Look at that, 78.7. So this is a true growth stock. It's why everybody's following it. It's why you're buying it for that kind of growth. Scrolling down, let's kind of see, this does give us the rankiness stuff going on. And we have a number of analysts, 6. This actually tells us on how many analysts, not just the revisions, but for the full year, 7 revisions, 7 were all up. So 100% revision agreement. This is how you get the number 1 rank. And then the trend of the estimates, much, much higher. Look at the full year, 839 now expected. And 30 days ago, just 680. So I'm assuming they had a great quarterly report, blew that out. And now the analysts are getting really, really bullish. So here's some of the earnings surprises the last 4 quarters. And you can see kind of what's going on. 15% earnings surprise. That's pretty good, but it's put double-digit surprises together. They do this value scorecard, which does compare it to other companies in its industry. And so it's not bad to look at. We don't care so much about the valuation factors. We're caring about the growth side. But you can see that we already mentioned the PE of 47. Price to sales is at 26. Extremely high price to sales ratio. But the growth is there, number 1 rank, and the stock is starting to surge. I like to see, this earnings growth. Also, now that we're in June of 2025, this price and consensus chart that Zacks has, and this includes the surprises here, is now starting to include 2027 consensus because we're halfway through the year. It's starting to look forward, not just to 26 anymore, but the analysts are starting to rotate out 2027 estimates, and now we're picking it up in the chart. So that means 2022 has rotated off of this chart now, and the furthest back we can now go is 2023. So that's always interesting, and you can really see they are bullish on 2027 here, not just 2026. So I'm liking that. Up and to the right, more earnings growth expected into 2027. So that's AppLovin, ticker APP. Okay, let's look and do the same thing at Anglo Gold Ashanti. Again, I own this one in the Value Investor and in my own personal portfolio. And if it's in the Value Investor, you can assume it has a little more valueness, but it is somewhat rare to get both growth and value. But with gold prices where they are, you will see that combination right now. So scrolling down, market cap of 19.9 billion. Let's scroll down and see what it says on the company summary. So they're gold mining. They're in Africa, the Americas, Australia. It is in Greenwood, Colorado. So they are an American-based headquartered company. You never know with the gold miners. A lot are in Canada and South Africa, occasionally Australia as well. So this is a US-based one. They do pay a dividend, it's yielding 1% right now. A lot of these companies using their free cash flow to buy back shares. Some will do special dividends. So keep an eye on that with some of these. Okay, 2025. This is where we get interesting. So 2025 estimates, 95%. 2026, we only have 6%, but it's early. It's going to go based on what the price of gold is looking at. For some reason, we don't have 2024s listed in here. I'm not sure why that's missing, but occasionally, if you don't have analysts on the quarterlies, which we don't right here. So we have 2 analysts on for the full year, and that's all they're doing. They're not giving as much on the quarterly data here. That's true a lot with a lot of the commodities plays. They will cover only, yearly. But take a look at what's happening for the yearly over here with the magnitude. For $1.31 now expected. 30 days ago, just $3.48. And next year also, you can see that nice gain there as well. And the estimates are moving up, which you would expect with the Zacks #1 rank. Revision agreement, 2 are higher. Nobody's cut. And so 100% on that. On the value scorecard, it is more of a value. Price to book, just 2.2. Price to sales is at 3. Those are both low. And PE of just 11 here because those earnings are surging. Now on the chart, this is all happening really quickly here in 2025. Yes, gold prices have been on the rise, but we suddenly went from $2,500 an ounce to $3,000 and now $3,400 an ounce in a short amount of time. So the analysts are trying to catch up and they've been all over the place, but you can kind of see 26, 27 is kind of in there, but it's basically following 26 because that's a year from now. Who knows what's going to be happening? So on these commodities plays, lot harder to get a grip on what might be going on for the future, but we did have nice earnings growth in the past. You can see 24 in there. But for some reason, it's just not picking up on the other data. Let me look at the detailed earnings estimates just real quick to see maybe it's got stuck in there. Yeah, we do have, they made 221 last year. So it is an earnings growth of 95% looking for this year, but we are missing a little bit of the data here. Maybe some analysts only recently started covering. You can see on the sales side, on the revenue, we have just one estimate. So this is a lightly covered gold miner. Gold miners have been in the doghouse for a couple of decades. Imagine being a gold mining analyst. You've been kind of out in the wilderness, but now's your chance to shine. But there aren't enough of them anymore. And so these are lightly covered compared to, AppLovin or some of these other companies. So that's AngloGold Ashanti AU. Let's take a quick look at Birkenstock. BIRK is the ticker there. This is the shoe manufacturer. Again, #1 rank. Scrolling down, market cap of 10 billion. Scrolling down further, forward PE of 28, PEG of 1.1. We like to see that. So 2024 earnings up 208%, sales up 20. 2025 expected 36.7. 2026 expected 24.2. So this is great numbers from any kind of retail, apparel, shoes. You can see it on the price consensus and surprise chart. Has a pretty good surprise. It did beat big last quarter. Let's see. No, only 1.8% beat on last quarter. But look at the big amount of space in between each of these, even up here to 2027 now. That is earnings growth. That's what we're buying. We're buying the growth here and not that expensive at 28 times. Shares kind of just meandering around. So maybe this is a buying opportunity in Birkenstock, but remember, tariffs are going to be an issue. Okay, so they're based in London. I thought they were in Germany. They're in London, according to this company summary. And they are the footwear, sandals, shoes. It says skincare products and accessories, men, women, and kids. I'm not sure about skincare products. Do they have skincare products? Someone tell me. I have to go investigate that. I did not know. So Birkenstock, interesting area to be in right now. It does have the Zacks #1 rank. Let's see what the analysts are doing. 9 are higher for the full year. 9 are up. Nobody's cut. So they had a little bit better things to say for the full year. A lot of worries out there about the tariffs, and they alleviated some of that. Here's where you can see the trend in the estimate revisions that we're looking for $1.90 30 days ago, looking for $1.83 for this year. And then next year, 236 versus 227 there. So those are some nice, again, earnings growth. And the trend is your friend. going in the up and to the right direction. So that's what we want to see. Birkenstock, BIRK. CyberArk Software. This was recently a Zacks Bull of the Day because it's got that number one rank. Our Bulls of the Day are any of these Zacks number one rank stocks. You can find that for free. Just go to our homepage, the Bull of the Day, 5 days a week. When the market is open, you'll find the article right there. CyberArk Software, CYBR. This is cybersecurity. Let's scroll down. They're in Israel, founded in 1999. They do cybersecurity. That's really all we need to know. This is easy. I do like the cyber security companies for that reason, because we all know what they do. We're all thankful for them, and business is booming still. Market cap, $19.5 billion for CyberArk Security, or CyberArk Software, sorry. Forward PE, 103. PEG ratio, 4.3. But look at this earnings growth over here. 2024, 170%. 2025 expected 25.1, 26, 26.4. Sales also double digits. 2024, 33%, 2025, 31.8 is expected, 19.2 for 2026. Let's see what the analysts are doing. They're all up. Here's the full year, 11. We have 15 analysts, 11 have raised. Nobody has cut. That's 100% agreement. For the next fiscal year, 8 have raised, 2 did cut, but that's still 80% of them are raising. And we had 10 revisions for that year. And these earnings just up. And let's look at the chart. It's been a little rockier. It is up and to the right, but the analysts got a little bullish to start the year, had to come way down. 2027 starting way bullish up here again, higher. So they are looking for further gains as we move along into 26 and even in 27. Scrolling down, as I said, the PE 103, not looking for a cheap stock though. Price to sales at 17, price to book at 8. None of that is cheap, but we're buying this growth. And so is everyone else. Shares hit new highs in early 2025, sold off on the trade issues, now trying to inch their way back to those highs. Will we get a breakout here? If the overall market breaks out, I'll be watching this one, CyberArk Software, CYBR. Now we wanted to take a look at European Wax Center. Never looked at this one. EWCZ, again, is the ticker there. So we're putting it in. It's got the Zacks number one rank. I see an A for value on the style scores. Oh, and it's only trading at $5.66. Stock under $10. Wow. Crazy chart. Okay. Market cap of just 284 million. So we went from these mega caps in the tech side to this very small services side type of company. Let's scroll down and see what kind of description it gives. So it's a personal care franchise brand. It offers wax services from certified wax specialists, as well as full collection of proprietary products in skincare, body, and brow categories. They're based in Plano, Texas. We do have these here in Chicago, so I am familiar with the European Wax Center. And again, it is on the more services side. Let's take a look. I was kind of like, wow, for those of you who are listening, looking at the chart. So they went public in 2021. And the stock was over $20. It got over $30 by 2022, but everything sold off in 2022, including European Wax Centers. But it's been down, down, down ever since. And now the shares are under $10, right around $5. It did go under $5 briefly here in 2025 on the trade war. We don't have as good of earnings outlook, but you can see the analysts got pretty bullish to start the year and now have had to cut and come way down. But you could just see that little tan line. That's 2027 up there. So that is further earnings growth. And hopefully that's what it's showing us. So 2024 earnings growth of 21.6%. After bad year in 2023 where earnings declined 79. So they rebounded in 2024 off of that lower level. And now 2025, building on it, expected 35.6%. And then 2026, 16.4%. And then it looks like 2027 so far, the analysts are looking a little bit higher again in 2027. So this is where you get the growth. 3 years, we're looking back a year, we're looking at this year's growth, and it is there. Forward PE of just 8.4 now that the stock has fallen so much, and PEG of 0.46. So that's even a value PEG. Scrolling down to see the agreement, we have 5 analysts and 4 have revised higher. Nobody's cut. That's where you're getting the Zacks Rank. And look at this. Full year this year, 61 cents. 30 days ago, they were expecting 31 cents. So huge gain. Next year, just 66 cents. So not quite as bullish going for next year. But the analysts are raising for next year as well, because 30 days ago, it was at 40 cents. So things weren't as grim as the analysts were thinking. We all need to get waxed, right? So that is, a growing business, as we can see. Price to sales, 1.3. That's a value price to sales right there. Price to book, 2.89. That's also a value. So we didn't screen for value, but it is giving us a value with growth here. So that's kind of a interesting combination. And that is European Wax Center, small cap, making this list, under $10, EWCZ. And then I wanted to look at the bank. We're going to wrap it up with the bank. NB Bancorp, MBBK is the ticker. So 2 B's, N as in Nancy, B as in boy, B as in boy, K as in Kathy. And it's got the Zacks #1 rank, a bank. 676 million market cap. So this is a smaller regional bank, but let's scroll down and see if it is the one I was thinking was in Boston, and it is. So they focus as a bank holding company for Needham Bank. So if you're in Boston or Eastern Connecticut, Southern New Hampshire, or Rhode Island, you might know or bank at Needham Bank. And MB Bancorp is the holding company for them. And this stock has seen a lot of growth, and that's why it's making this list. So 2024, earnings growth of 39%. Look at 2025, 29.8, 2026, 21.6. And sales side, even 12.7 on earnings, or on sales side for this year expected, and 11.8 on the revenue side for next year. Forward P of 11.2, no PEG on this one, but not a lot of analyst coverage, but we do have one analyst. Smaller banks, a lot of less coverage. And the banks have been in the wilderness too for 17 years since the financial crisis. So hard to find banking analysts covering small cap banks. But there is one covering Needham. And number of revisions, 1, it is up. So this one analyst is bullish, 100% confirmation there. This year, looking for $1.48. 30 days ago, still $1.48 because they reported at the beginning of the cycle. So 60 days ago, it was at $1.39. And then next year, looking for $1.80. That's also up from $1.70 60 days ago. So this is why it's making a screen like this. Hard to get this in a bank. Now, PE doesn't matter so much for banks, but price to book does. And for banks, the banking analysts have said they like to buy banks at a price to book of 1. That's considered cheap, but under 1 is also even cheaper, but around 1 is cheap. And then you sell at 2 when it's not so cheap. NB Bank Corp, Needham Bank, price to book is 0.94. So that is cheap. And so that's why it's got the value here, but it's got this D for value on the style score. So not sure what's going on there. As far as I'm concerned, this is a value. No dividend, though. with this one. So that makes it a little harder for those looking for banks to pay out on the dividend side, but you are exchanging that with the growth rate on both earnings and the revenue side. Shares have really come down off these highs in 2024. That's why we had some insiders buying here, because the shares have come down. So is this a deal here? Up and to the right is what's happening. This has only been publicly traded as NB Bancorp since the beginning of 2024. So this is the second full year here as a ticker NBBK, but I am liking what I'm seeing here on the earnings side. I'm liking a lot of the banks here on the earnings side. They're not making this screen because the earnings growth isn't over 20% with a lot of them, but it is double digits with a lot of them now. And a lot do have the Zacks #1 rank because those earnings estimates have been revised higher here. People get too bearish on the banks, but the market's still ignoring them as they are with this one. So if you're looking for a bank with growth, and that's pretty rare with the #1 rank, look for NB Bancorp, ticker NBBK. Okay, that's all of our stocks. This is a long podcast because we covered 6 stocks. We took a look at all the charts on each of these companies, but I think this is always a good strategy and thing to do when you're looking for new stocks. I know a lot of you asked me on Twitter, Tracey, what's the latest hot growth stock? What can I buy in AI that's not NVIDIA? What other areas of tech should I be looking at outside of AI? Well, I gave you a couple here. We've talked a lot over the last couple of weeks here at Zacks about the gold miners. They have good Zacks ranks, and the earnings, as long as gold remains at these levels, are looking really good for them. And surprised to see a retailer and a Birkenstock, I guess they're also retail, and Urban Outfitters on this list, as well as European Wax Center. You never know when you do a screen like this what is going to be in there. And this was just 6 out of the 37 stocks. You can go one by one and do the same thing on the entire list and see if you can find any hidden gems in there. The Zacks rank does tend to uncover some stocks that maybe aren't on the watch lists of many people. Obviously, CyberArk Software is on many watch lists, as is AppLovin, but European Wax Center, even Birkenstock might not be on this list. So be sure to run these screens often. You can run the basic ones too. Those are free also on Zacks. And a lot of what I just did on Zacks.com, you can do as well. So use all of our resources because they're out there, and it's good to see the direction of the earnings. Where is it going? Are they cutting? The analysts cutting? Are they raising? That tells you a lot about the momentum behind the company and what's going on behind the scenes. With all this uncertainty out there with the trade war, you want companies where those earnings estimates are on the rise. That tells you they are really competing out there right now, or they're in an area where the trade war just kind of can't reach them. So that's what I want right now here in 2025. So let me recap all those tickers again. So we had AppLovin, that's the tech company that's on the advertising monetization side. It's getting close to that breakout again, ticker APP for AppLovin. AngloGold Ashanti, the one I own, it's in the value investor as well. Gold miner, ticker A as in Adam, U, AU. Birkenstock, ticker B as in boy, I, R, K. CyberArk Software on the cybersecurity, C as in Charles, Y, B as in boy, R as in Robert. European Wax Center, E as in Edward, W, C as in Charles, Z, EWCZ. And then a bank, yes, a bank on a growth screen, NB Bancorp, ticker as in N as in Nancy, B as in boy, B as in boy, K as in Kathy. So These are some great stocks. Be sure to subscribe. Get all of our podcasts. Get the video podcast so you can see all these charts and everything I was showing you on Zacks.com. Get it on YouTube. Go to Zacks.com/YouTube. Subscribe there to get all of our content. You can get the top stock picks of the week as well. That video is great also on our YouTube page. And get us on Apple, Spotify, Amazon Music, wherever else you can get our audio podcasts. They're everywhere. Be sure to get us somewhere, and I'll be back again next week with some more stocks.